Second thing I learned is that there really are two forms that everything falls into. All that evidence falls into two categories. And there are only two categories of evidence. The first one is pretty simple. It's what we call direct evidence. The other one is what we call indirect evidence. Not really hard to imagine those two different kinds, right? Well, what is direct evidence? Direct evidence is just eyewitness testimony, folks. If someone says to you, I need some direct evidence on this, what are they talking about? And I hear this all the time. I'm watching a series on Netflix called The Making of a Murderer. Have you guys seen that? And even the prosecutor, when talking about the nature of evidence, misuses the terms. Direct evidence is eyewitness testimony. That's all that counts as direct evidence. Indirect evidence is everything else. Well, DNA at the crime scene, that's not direct evidence. That's indirect evidence. Witnesses who can tell you what they saw the suspect do, that is direct eyewitness testimony. That's all that counts. Now, sometimes we use a different word for this indirect evidence. We call this circumstantial evidence. So these are the two groups. And I'll bet you when you hear this term, circumstantial evidence, you're like, that's just junk. You know, you hear on TV all the time, all they have is a circumstantial case, right? Well, that's all I ever have. I work cold cases. They went cold for a reason. There's no eyewitnesses. So when I get a case to begin with, it's terrible. It's a mess. And it's built on circumstantial evidence, but we can still, as a matter of fact, judges tell juries all the time that they are not to consider circumstantial evidence as being any less valuable than direct evidence. They are to be given the exact same weight in your jury deliberations. So stop saying it's just a circumstantial case, because that means there's something less about, no, it's a circumstantial case, but it's not just a circumstantial case. Does that make sense? As a matter of fact, let me show you the jury instruction. Here's what judges tell juries in jury trials before they start the deliberations. Both direct and circumstantial evidence are acceptable types of evidence to prove or disprove the elements of a charge, including intent and mental state and acts necessary to a conviction. And neither is necessarily more reliable than the other. Neither is entitled to any greater weight than the other. So I'm here to tell you guys, we build cases about the existence of God that could be described as circumstantial. No kidding. That's how we do cases, and probably 85% of cases in America are entirely circumstantial. That's how we build cases. Don't let anyone tell you that you've got to have a direct witness you can interview in order to believe something is true. Be ready to kiss down all of history then. You couldn't even know anything about your own great-grandparents if you had to have somebody alive who could say, I saw them do this. No, you're taking it on the strength of somebody else's testimony. You have to make these cases circumstantially. So just know that that's an entirely appropriate way to make a case. That's okay.